Today is a fun day. We're gonna learn a lot about a specific aspect of nature and books because we are spending some time with Miss Tessie Ledesma. She is Miss Texas U.S. International 2023, and most recently and most interestingly, right now, a local author here from the Valley. So
Yes.
thanks for being
Thank you for
here.
having me. Hello, everybody.
Hello, she says hi, and so does.
So does Polly the
I was
possum.
gonna say this is Polly.
Yes.
Okay, Polly the possum says hi, and I think that you guys can see her face there. Um, so we were talking about your book, and we were looking at it right now. First of all, beautiful book that you have, by the way.
Thank you.
I love the illustration, like the cover of the book. You want to show that to the camera real
Yes,
quick?
yes, yeah. If this will be shown, I will just actually put it like this.
Perfect, perfect. So that is like if you guys have ever, and we all have left HEB like, and it's like 6:30, or you get to the parking lot. That is what the sky looks like.
Literally.
Maybe
It
minus the
looks that way coming
possum.
over here.
Yeah. Well, maybe not even minus the possum, right? You might even have seen one running around, but it probably looked that way coming over here. So that's such a cool like idea that you came up with, that you kept it like that local vibe. I
Right.
love that. That's
Yes.
so
I
cool.
definitely needed to implement local.
So tell us about your book. Like, I guess we can start off. Why Polly the possum?
Yeah, there is so many different aspects that go into this book, so many Easter eggs within the book. So we chose Polly the possum because one, possums are an animal that definitely could get more light shed on them. You don't know enough about them, especially in the Rio Grande Valley. A lot of us like to kick them around and probably do God knows what with them.
We've
But
all seen them.
we've all
Yeah.
seen different things and heard different things and duck watches and this and that. So I wanted to shed more light on possums because they actually have a really good benefit for the environment. So I'm from Mercedes, Texas. I'll just give the whole backstory. And I live on a ranch in Mercedes, Texas. I grew up riding horses. We have horses, we have chickens. We used to have like rabbits and goats. But right now we just have chickens and horses. And I started writing this book about 3 years ago, three and a half. And at the time when we started getting buying chickens, we noticed that their eggs, they were laying eggs as chickens do, and we started collecting the eggs, but we noticed that the eggs were broken. The chickens were kind of beaten up, the eggs were eaten, and we thought something's going on here. What is it?
Mm.
So my dad and I and my little sister, we started setting up possum traps, knowing that possums like to go out at night and do crazy things and be rambunctious. So
Yeah.
we put possum traps up around our farm and we put a golf ball inside because a golf ball gives the illusion of an egg.
Oh
So
wow.
we put them near the chicken coop, and when the possum thinks it's about to get an egg, it gets trapped. And the cage doesn't harm it. We don't harm the possum. The moment we notice the next morning, we put the possum trap in the back of my dad's truck. And my little sister, my dad, and I, we drive out to remote fields, more in the middle of nowhere, like 10 minutes more out, and make sure it's literally just fields. That there's no neighborhood nearby for like 5, 6 miles,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll drop the possum back off. And the reason is because they do have a role in the environment, and we've learned that from having a farm and a ranch. And that's where some of the idea came from. After us doing that so many times, and of course, it was usually
Mm.
at evening time when you do see that beautiful sky, and sometimes even sunflowers, and us constantly doing that, that gave me the inspiration for the possum as an animal. The story itself is about self love. So obviously, possums, no one thinks they're cute. I think if anything, they had that like they're so ugly they're cute kind of
Oh yeah, yeah.
feature about themselves, but no one thinks they're cute. A lot of people don't like them in the valley. I know I've heard so many stories from doing so many book readings about parents like kicking possums around. But obviously, since no one likes them, that's my main character because it focuses on self love and being bullied, which is a
Mm.
common issue. But another backstory for this is my little sister at the time that I was writing the book was going through some self love issues. She wasn't necessarily getting bullied, but it was the time where kids got pulled from school for the pandemic and they resorted to their phones.
Oh
So they were
yeah.
constantly seeing influencers and constantly seeing other people and what other people are doing and posting and makeup trends. So before you knew it, she lost that social interaction, lost touch with herself. She obviously missed her friends, but everybody was pulled from everything, didn't communicate
Mm-hmm.
with anybody. So she started resorting to things like, I don't like my hair, my smile, my nose. Why couldn't I have been born like this? Why couldn't I be taller? And obviously, this impacted her a lot. She kind of spiraled. And being her older sister, I was there to help her. But at the same time, it made me realize like this is really impacting kids. like the being pulled
Mm,
from school and social
yeah.
interaction really impacted kids to this day. It's even hard for them to interact now. They'd rather
Yeah.
interact on cell phones and be on their phone than have an actual conversation.
That's true.
So I took that story of her self love and I thought, how can I make a difference with this? So we made Polly the possum. Polly gets bullied in the book. She has a hard time loving herself, accepting herself. In the book, she even says, Mom, why couldn't I have been a swan or a rabbit or something normal?
Oh man,
And
what?
her mom will
Okay.
tell her, like, look, we have a role in the environment. And she's like, but I get made fun of for what I eat and for how I look and for playing dead. So things that make her who she is. The reason is because I wanted to put a book out there that motivates kids because it is being primarily read to kids. I've read from grades like pre-K through like seventh. And it's because you are here for a reason. There's only one of you. There's nobody else in the world like you, and that's your reason and your purpose, and that's your superpower. And if we can embrace that, if I can help kids at the young age who were pulled from the pandemic and now brought back to school embrace that about themselves, then I feel like I'm playing a part in helping them be unbreakable human beings in the future because the only opinion that matters is their own. And it doesn't matter
Mm,
what any friend group says about you, they already have a sense of knowing who they are and why they are the way they are. So that's a little
that's
bit of the book
awesome.
in a nutshell. There's also different aspects of the book, but that's kind of how we ended up with Polly the Possum.
That's so cool. I like what you said. Being who you are is your superpower. I've never heard that. I mean, like, yeah, like it's like in one sense, it's like yeah, of course. But at the same time, I'm like, whoa, like I've never thought about it that way. Because you're saying like self love, just be yourself, and that is like that's powerful. That's like if that's your superpower, that's so cool. And like I
Hmm.
mean, we sometimes we have to hear that kind of thing, to like for it to click.
We do, definitely. And in the book, also, without giving too much about the book away, but in the book, also, Polly's mom will tell her, you know, you contribute to society because possums do. They play their role in the environment. And like that, I want kids to take away from that we contribute. Each one of us as human beings have a meaning in the world and we each play our
Mm.
role. So we make the world a better place being on it. So
It's like a
that's what I wanted
giant
to.
metaphor. I love
It
that.
really is.
So okay, so we're in the valley, like you said. A lot of us have heard stuff about possums, and it sounds worse in Spanish, or like tacuaches. Like it
It
just sounds
sounds so
a
like
lot of stuff sounds worse in
ugly. Like
Spanish. I don't know. I mean, like that's our language too. But anyway, that's like off on another tangent. You said that the possums have a role to play in the environment. So for all of us who, and this is something that I hadn't told you, we were talking off mic about it, but like and my brother's looking at me because he knows it's true. Personally, I've not been the biggest fan of possums. So when I saw your book, I was like, okay, this is gonna be good. Like even for myself, of course it's good for all of us here in the valley. But tell us like what role do they play in the community, in the
Yeah, of
environment?
course. So at the end of the book, I definitely had to include, literally after the last page of storyline, is a page of perks of possums.
Perks of possums.
Perks of possums. Yeah, I
Okay,
had to make it
okay.
sound cute and
What
fun.
are some perks of these possums?
Yeah, so it's only in South Texas where we refer to them as possums. Everywhere else they're called opossums, which is interestingly enough, that's some
Really?
feedback I've received now that the book has become more well known, like around the country. People have come back to attack me, like you misspelled possums. It's called opossums, but actually in South Texas and like Texas in general, like just the southern
Yeah.
states, it's called possums. Like they take off the O.
Yeah, yeah. I
So
thought it was just like another way to say it. So that's like
mm-mm,
just an us thing, like a
just like
Texas
a
Valley
southern thing.
thing. What? I did not. I
Yeah.
guess that.
So when I was creating
Wow.
actually the title, I kept thinking Polly the Opossum, but it didn't sound right. I think a lot of us
Hmm.
down here say possums.
Yeah, it's if we say it in English, yeah, we're gonna say
Yeah.
possum.
So I did a Perks of Possum sheet and there's a lot of cool fun facts. I'm just gonna run through some. So my favorite is that they are immune to venom from honeybees, scorpions, and rattlesnakes, meaning that if one of those was to bite a possum, if a rattlesnake was to attack a possum, it would just need to rest for maybe like a few minutes and it can just go on walking. It
I
doesn't
did
have
not
to
know
go
that.
to like it doesn't have to go to and crawl and die or rehab itself.
Takes a nap. Takes a nap. Like
Literally.
gets bit by a rattlesnake and it knocks out for
Yeah,
like
so
a
it's a little
few minutes.
super animal in itself.
I did not know that, man. So you said rattlesnakes and what else? Like
Honeybees and
oh
scorpions.
my, and we have all of that
We
here.
have all of that down here. So that's probably why they can never be killed.
Yeah, man. That's
It's almost like
huh.
you would think that like dogs and stuff would be scared of these things because they can't be killed by anything else, but
Yeah, I'm realizing now. I feel like the only things I've seen that like have caused their like death is like
being run
vehicles or
over.
run or
Hmm.
like pets, right? Like
Yeah.
dogs tend to treat them like trophies. Like, oh, I got you a gift, right? That's so cool. I didn't know that. Okay, give us one more. One more. What is it?
Perks of
Perks of
possums.
being a possum, right?
So a lot of people believe they have rabies. I think growing up, I even heard that. And they actually cannot get rabies. Rabies, it cannot survive in their body because their body temperature is way too cold.
Oh, like they physically can't
They
have it.
cannot have rabies. And it's not
Huh.
that like even if rabies tried to get them, it would not survive in their
Yeah, like
system.
they just can't. Like it's just
Mm-mm.
not something that they can. Like the rabies like wouldn't thrive or function,
Nope.
wouldn't survive inside their system.
So
Huh.
no possum you see out there has rabies ever.
So like what's the why do we have such a like why is there a connotation that they're so dirty though? Like
I don't know. I think it's because you always see them scavenging around. Like think about it. All the times you've seen
mhm.
one, they've always been like in trash or near trashy areas.
That's true. Yeah, like
Like they kind
under our
of
house
they kind
like
of brought that reputation upon themselves
yeah, that's
by always
true.
being in little trashy areas. But it's because they eat literally anything.
Yeah, it's easy food, I guess.
They
Yeah,
can just
trash is
scavenge and get literally anything.
okay, I guess that's probably why too then. I don't know what it is why I thought like stuff about them, but I love that. That's a really good idea then because I thought honestly I thought like oh like it's an animal like a character like you could have chosen anyone, but there's a specific reason. Like one you were like trapping them, but then you realize that that was like the perfect like representation of what's happening to like to our kids.
Mhm.
That's were you so you said this happened like 3 years ago, right? Like
Mhm.
so we're talking about like the start of the pandemic or like the meat
So
of it, like the
right. I actually, all of my ideas formed for the book during the pandemic. So the pandemic happened like in March. I
yeah.
started writing, like getting my ideas were just thriving in my mind. It was starting about like May. And that's around
Of
the
that
same
year.
time that was when obviously I was home more. Everybody was home more. So
Yeah,
we
we
were
all were.
constantly catching and releasing possums. That was like our little hobby throughout the pandemic. And
That's
that's
fun.
when my sister got pulled, obviously, kids from school. So
Mm-hmm.
that's when everything started happening. So I always knew I wanted to write a book. I used to love writing. And when I was a little
Mm-hmm.
girl, I used to make like books out of just little paper. Like I would cut it up and put it in a little square and like tape it and give it to my mom. Like, here's my book. I made this for you.
Mm, that's
So I
awesome.
always knew I wanted to write a book, but I knew that I never wanted to force it. I'm not someone to force anything in my life. So I was
Mm.
never going to have a laptop and stare at it and get writer's block. Everything had to come to me in its own time. And it came to me during the pandemic when we were catching and releasing possums, when my sister was going through everything. And I think a lot of people saw this time as this is time to either rest and relax, or do nothing, or you could benefit from this time and make the most and find more about yourself and give something back to
Yeah.
society. And that's what I ended up doing with this my time in the book.
That's cool. And I was gonna ask you, like, were you already planning to write one, or like, so you? I mean, this has been like a lifelong thing for you, then,
It
like,
has, yeah.
mm,
My mom would always tell me like, "So when are you gonna write one?" I'm like, "It has to come to me. I don't know, mom." And when I say it
yeah.
came to me, is like I got my first idea when we dropped the possum off, and my sister was already like grumpy to be in the car because she was already not comfortable with herself, and she was already like cutting her own hair in the restroom, like going through all these little
Mm,
crises that the kids go through when they
yeah.
don't know who they want to be and what they want to look like.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw her, I saw the possum running across the street, and I was like, I could really like, she could be Polly, like she could be the possum in the story.
That's like genius. Like that's like the where it came from. Like that came from
Hmm.
like a beautiful place in your heart. Like you wanted to help your sister out, and you also saw that like really you were seeing a microcosm of what was going on with all the kids, right? Like in
I
your
thought if she's
sisters.
going through this, everyone's going through this, especially
Yeah.
the youngers. And she's 15 now, so she was probably 11 or 12 at the time. And I can only imagine how
Mm,
the younger ones are
yeah.
impacted by it because
That's a
they are barely
crucial.
learning social skills and then they're getting pulled from everything.
Yeah, and that lasted for a good while, right? Like
A
when
long
the home
time.
learning and then it was like optional for like a long time after that as well.
Hmm.
So that's perfect, man. And so you've always been really an author like in your heart, like in like within yourself, like you were getting like fours in your tax test, like the writing essays and everything
Oh,
like
I
that.
loved those.
Yeah,
Most people
the
probably did not
prompts.
like, but I loved like journaling, the tax test writing prompts. I loved all of that. I
That was
was
like fourth and seventh grade, right? We were like,
Yes,
yeah, actually, it was pretty fun to
it
with all
was.
the things you didn't know what you were gonna write about. You're like, oh,
I think
okay,
there's
like,
just so many. There's a beauty in like the moment you see a prompt and your mind explodes with ideas. It's like, how do I get all this on paper? But that's what I love the
mm.
most, like putting the puzzle together, like all these pieces in my mind, like putting it together on paper and handing it over to somebody to read.
Were you a rough draft person, or did you go straight to like to the final to the final draft?
I think I just always went straight to the even
Me
with
too.
this,
Me
like
too. I would get in trouble because like we had like part of our assignment was to do the rough
to do rough
draft,
drafts and
and
like
I just wouldn't do the whole
yes, or
thing.
do templates, right? Like where you write
Yeah,
everything. Yes, and
yeah,
I
yeah.
never.
Me
If
neither.
anything,
Like,
it made my writing worse. Like I had to go straight from the heart and what I
yeah,
felt.
yeah. That's why I was asking because I was remembering like I remember my seventh grade one, and I think I did get a four in fourth grade, but I just wasn't like a rough draft person. Like, and I
Mm-mm.
was like, nah. Like to me, it was like not a way. Like I wasn't functioning that way. It wasn't even that like I don't need to do that. I just literally like I'd rather not like because it's gonna mess up like my flow or something.
Right.
So that's what happened with yourself as well.
Yeah. When I was writing this book, I would get ideas anywhere. I think going to the grocery store was like bare minimum, right? Like a lot of areas were blocked
Mm,
off, but
yeah.
I think they still had the eggs section open because there was a time where I was grabbing eggs and I was thinking to myself, like the moment I grabbed them, I just had like a light bulb in my head and I was like, I should make Polly's favorite food, which it is in the book. Her favorite food's a rotten egg sandwich.
Rotten egg
So a rotten egg
sandwich.
sandwich, yeah.
That's cool, man. Everybody's got to read this book, man.
Yeah.
Especially for the rotten egg sandwich thing. That's cool. How long or how does one get a book published? Like you have that's like a legit book, man. Like I feel like I could have checked that out like in third grade from the school library. Like
Mhm.
how do you get that published?
Yeah, so
What's
I
the
love talking about the journey because I had to literally Google everything. I didn't have anybody I knew who ever did anything like this. I was probably the first, at least in my
wow.
friends or my family or people I knew that or my parents knew. So I Googled everything, and
So
when
like
I
no mentors or no like
mm-mm.
wow.
My mom would try to help me Google and like tell me what she would find, but as far as like mentors of somebody who actually did it, no.
Yeah, yeah.
So where do I even start? So really, all of my ideas. Obviously, you get ideas, right?
Mhm.
My ideas were ranging everywhere. There was notes on my phone. There was notes on a regular like sketchbook. Like I would just scribble something. There was notes on my laptop. When I felt like I had enough notes, I would say like notes as in like ideas.
Mhm.
Like I want to make this her favorite food. I want to make this her best friend. I want to make this a
Oh,
storyline.
okay.
When I
Yeah.
had like notes like that, like ideas like that, like I want sunflowers in there. I want her to be in track. I want her to run for a pageant.
Ooh, she's in track. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And when I also thought of like self affirmations because that's something my sister, my mom, and I practiced with each other. Like everyone goes through self love issues.
Mhm.
Sometimes you really have to write things on mirrors. Like I have friends and myself who write on a mirror like, I am going to be great today. And
Yeah.
sometimes you have to just not even say it to yourself, but just see it there to believe it.
The mantra.
So,
Yeah.
so she does like self affirmations, and it was just little ideas everywhere. When I felt like I had enough, I opened up a Word document and I just started writing. And what I did was I literally just typed page one, dot, dot, and put my sentence or two sentences. And then I'll put like a space, page two, and then two or
Hmm.
three. And when I Googled, most kids' books are 25, 27 pages. Obviously, it goes by fast because the sentences are very short.
Oh
I think
yeah.
like some of Polly's
Big
pages have
big
like,
illustrations
yeah,
and
it's
yeah.
mainly illustrations.
Big words. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it went by really quickly. Once I had a Word document, I started thinking, okay, I need to find someone to draw this thing. Like, I don't know how to draw aside from a really good little
Oh.
stick figure.
Yeah, that's true
but
though. Not that you don't know how to draw, but that you gotta get like an illustrator,
I
right?
had to
Like
get an illustrator. And I was like,
yeah.
okay, that's when it hit me that this book is going to cost money. Like, it's going to cost money to put my dream out there, which I was okay with. I became comfortable with, and I started saving money. I was working, I was in college at the time, and I was working at a bar, and I would even pick up extra shifts. Like I would go from school to the bar every single day as a
Oh
bartender,
yeah.
and I would save that money to write this book.
Wow.
So, when I was looking for illustrators, immediately I was looking up like where do you get illustrators on Google.
Mm-hmm.
Surprisingly enough, you can buy some on Etsy. Etsy, like if you just put illustrators, it has people's like work, and you can hire them.
Oh, okay.
But it, I'm so big on like giving back to others and inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole point of the book.
Yeah.
It was never like about me and what this can do for me. It's what I can do for others. So I thought, how can I help somebody else? Like I'm about to get opportunities opened with this book. I want someone to come with me on that journey. I don't want somebody who's
Mm.
already been to like 100 different things. So what I did was I started emailing colleges nearby, and I was in Kingsville at the time. I went to school at A&M Kingsville, and emailed colleges nearby, and I said, "Hey, I'm reaching out for your art department. Do you have any students who might be interested in illustrating a book? Here's the
Oh,
first three
cool.
pages. Do you mind just sharing it at the end of class? And if they're interested, drop their email and give me like consent to message them." I got about 10 emails. I sent the first 3 pages to each person, and I just said, "I have no specific ideas. Draw whatever comes to you. Like just get creative."
Yeah.
And I found her name is Olivia. She's from Alice. She drew
Cool.
literally what you see is like kind of exactly, I didn't really have to fix much of anything for her because she had the exact idea I had. She had the
Oh
exact idea
yeah.
I had in my head. So
Okay.
she brought everything to life seamlessly, and I got her. So she was, I don't want to exactly say around her age at the time because I'm not even sure how old exactly she is right now, but
Mm-hmm.
definitely a lot younger than me. She had to have at least been like 19 through 21 when she drew everything.
Wow.
And she originally, and in the page of the like about me and about her, she wanted to join the US Marshal. She wanted to be like in criminal justice. And now this book has changed her life in so many ways that she wants to actually be like a full-time illustrator.
Really?
And
Wow.
she loves it, and she actually like has gotten reached out from many different people who are trying to illustrate books that they see her name in here, and they ask her if she wants to do theirs. And she's tried it here and there, but she's also trying to finish school, so I think she wants to
Yeah.
finish school first and then jump more like into it.
Yeah, because that's true. This has given her like a portfolio.
hmm
Like she has experience. Like
yeah, and
that's
I've
so
even told her
cool.
that the company who published the book and picked us up has reached out to me about if she wants to make it a full-time thing to give her like a contract or something.
Wow. That's
So
cool,
now she wants,
man.
like, now she changed her whole career. And
For
once
Polly,
for
man. That's
Bali,
cool.
and once she finished all the drawings, which I can't give you, maybe like 8 9 months it took of just back and forth, because obviously, like, as much as she fulfilled the vision I had, like we had to change some things, right? Like
Mm.
it's really cute because there's like she added certain little creative parts, and in the book there's like a portrait of like a family, and it's a possum family.
Oh,
Like, you know how
okay.
you see portraits in like people's home of their
Oh yeah,
families?
the four of
She put
them
like
or
a little
something.
possum family, like Polly's family.
That's cool.
So she put cute little things in there. Once she gave me illustrations, like in a regular, she made them on her iPad. Once she gave me illustrations as like JPEGs or whatever, I just inserted that on my Word doc. So I put like page one, my words, and I put the picture. And then I put page two, my words, the picture.
Mm.
I saved that, and then I Googled like the best children's book publishers and like with the most reasonable prices, because you still have to pay.
Oh yeah.
Authors have to pay for like each book. So like this book cost me like $5, but then I sell it and I get profit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was looking up like who would offering the best deal and the best marketing contract, because they help market you.
Oh
And I
yeah,
sent
yeah.
it off to like 10, and I heard back from 3, and I reviewed contracts with my mom, and then I chose Mascot Kids. They had the best all around vision for what I wanted, and they had the best contacts with Barnes and Nobles, Target, Amazon, Walmart. They had the easiest way to get me in with them, and they gave me freedom to do anything I wanted locally. So as long as it's local, like if I wanted to drive to Dallas tomorrow and do an event, that's not so much local. But what I'm trying to say is like I could do whatever event I wanted. I don't have to go through them first.
Oh, I
I don't need to
see.
submit a form
Yeah.
like,
So
hey, I
yeah,
know I'm contracted under you. Here's a form. Can I do this? Like I never need
yeah.
permission. I
You
can
have the
go do.
autonomy to do
Yeah.
whatever.
Like
And you have been.
mm-hmm.
So tell us about that, like, cause you've been on tour, man. You really
Yes.
have.
It's kicked off so well. I officially received 800 copies of Polly the Possum July of 2023. So about literally like 3.5 years in the making, because I had to write the book and get it published and go through all the steps. So
Mm.
3.5 years later, we got official copies, and it never felt like it would be real, but it is. And I got 800 copies. That's what I started off ordering, because I just didn't know. Like I didn't know if it could be a hit or not. Like I didn't know where it would
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
I didn't know how far it could go.
Like the risk kind of
Yeah, it's
deal.
definitely a risk. So I had 800 copies, and I was competing for Miss US International already, like the next week. So I was like, okay, well, this is a lot at one time. So I'm going to wait till I finish that competition. Then I'm going to start my book tour. And I started my book tour. I just literally sent emails to different schools. I reached out to the schools I went to growing up.
Mm.
And like, the best thing is word of mouth. So the moment I visited a school, they would pass it on to their colleagues and other librarians, and then they would pick me up. And then
Oh, true.
my contact just started getting like moved around everywhere the more schools I went, which was a lot easier than emailing people, because when you try to email school emails from a personal like Gmail, it gets thrown in junk.
Oh, yeah.
So I was trying to email like 100 different schools, but it wasn't even going through.
Yeah.
But when librarians would switch my contact information around and rotate it between libraries, that's where I got more reach outs. So yeah, since July, I have been touring, I guess you can say, and a lot of my stuff has been in the Rio Grande Valley, and that's kind of how I like it and wanted it originally, because that's where I had the most connection, the most to give back,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the people who appreciate it the most. I currently live in Austin. I work for UT, so I drive down like it's on a hybrid schedule. So I work like 3 days a week in person, the other 2 days remote. So after my last day of work on Wednesdays, I'll drive home and I'll do events like on the weekends, and then Fridays and Mondays. And, I've even done events in like coastal Bend areas or Austin or San Antonio areas.
Yeah, I was
But
seeing that. Like you've been around the
yeah,
state.
but what I've liked the most about the Rio Grande Valley is I visited an Austin school, and I remember the librarian was telling me, like, "Oh my gosh, I'm glad you were able to come because so and so knew you." She's like, "We get like 30 inquiries from authors a day in our emails, like trying to come
Really?
visit." And honestly, in the Valley, you don't have that. Like, you don't have authors literally trying to come visit us all the time.
Oh,
So I think
true.
that's why kids down here appreciate it so much more, and superintendents and teachers. Like, there's just a
Yeah.
level of appreciation that you can't get anywhere else.
Yeah, that's true, man. Because there's just not a lot like of especially local authors. Like
Hmm.
that's another element to it. Because I mean, like you're homegrown, right? Born and raised. Have you been able to? You said you've been able to go around like to your home
Yeah,
school
my
district.
very first event, and I had to wait a little bit because I wanted it to be there, was my elementary school that I went to.
How did that feel? Like going back?
That was still to this day my favorite event, just because they did so much for me. I think because I went to school there,
Uh huh.
they have like their little elementary school has a little like broadcast team, so
Really,
they
they
had
do
little
that?
kids interviewing me,
What?
and their questions were written. I was looking at them, and of course, like writing like the way kids write when they're that young looks so funny,
Yeah, yeah.
and so cute. So
So they had like reporters, like
they
they have like
had
a
reporters,
program,
but it was like little kids,
like a
yeah.
media program
Like a
or
media
something.
program.
What?
And they were asking me questions, and they had me in the gym. So they had like all their grades come in the gym, and they gave me like super cute gifts, and they welcomed me, and they talked about how I went to school there, and yeah.
Cool, man. Were some of your teachers still there?
Yes.
Did you
So
get
it
to
was
see
really cool to
them?
see them and give them hugs and be like, "I'm back, and this time I'm an author, and your class actually inspired me to write a book."
So
So,
people like some of the staff recognized you, like they knew who
mhm.
you were,
Yeah.
like because you went there. That's so cool, man. I love that you got to see your teachers. I
Mhm.
remember one time when I went back to my elementary, I made sure like I drank from the water fountain. Like did you go
Yeah.
around like, oh, I
The first
remember
thing I did,
this?
I actually put my little quarters in to get those little gel pens that I was obsessed with when I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
younger. And
Forgot
then
about that.
I kind of walked through everything. Like the cafeteria still smells the same. I was like, man, this place never changed the smell. It still smells the same.
Yeah, there is a smell, right?
Right? Yeah.
The few times that I've gone to some elementaries, like you can not even just elementary, like middle school or high school, like it smells like school, like not just like the smell of school, but like it smells like you're in that mode, like in that. It's hard to explain. Like
Yeah. It
I
puts you in a
guess
whole different like mindset, time
yeah,
frame, takes you
yeah.
back in
And
time.
that was
That was
your
my
very
very
first
first
one.
one. Yeah.
So that was the best start then,
That
like
was the
for
best
sure.
start. Hmm.
And you've been doing like specifically elementaries.
Elementaries, I did like a middle school. Honestly, when people ask me what the grade level is, of course, like reading the words and the graphics, it is like an elementary styled book, but
Mm-hmm.
the message can be taken to anybody. Like I've even had parents who have like a 30-year-old daughter, and they're like, this would apply perfect to her because she needs more self-love, or anyone could use it. So this book has been bought by people of all ages, but yes, primarily elementaries. And it's gone off everywhere. Like I think there's very few states I haven't marked off my map that the book
Mm-hmm.
has not been shipped to yet.
Really.
And there's even like a book that got fulfilled ordered in like Japan. So
Really,
just
man.
really cool things that I feel like these people don't even know what possums are.
So how did you?
But the
That's
possum
funny.
is there.
That's funny. Like in
The
Japan,
polly is there.
they're like, "Oh, this is an American animal. Like this is an exotic animal. They call it a possum."
Right? They probably think all these really cool things, and
I
I'm like,
know.
no, they're probably like they're definitely not.
But how do you get to the point where like how did you get to the point where like it's being shipped all over the place? Like are you did you have to work hard like in marketing or did it just take off? Like the
It
story?
really helps that I already work with marketing and communications. That's what I've been doing since,
Okay.
like, that's what I majored in. That's what all my professional experience and internships were in. So I already knew more or less how to, like, literally throw yourself out there and what to do.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a sorority growing up in college, that my mom is actually like the founder of. Like, she founded
Really?
this sorority in Texas Tech, and now it is like at every single college. And she's like queen bee of it. So obviously, people love her in that. So, and I was in the sorority, so I'm like a major legacy for her.
Mm.
So, we are in a Facebook group for the sorority, and I know everyone like obviously loves my mom because she's the founder. So what I did was, I knew that would be like a really good marketing push because I know
Mm-hmm.
everybody on there like is very supportive of each other. That's what sororities are for, and you make lifelong friends. So I put the book in there, and I said, "Hey, everybody! I wrote this children's book." I got all these comments, and that's where like a lot of the out of state orders came from.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah,
And
because
then
they come from everywhere,
they come
right?
from
So
everywhere.
yeah, that's
And
true.
then aside from that, I Facebook groups. Honestly, Facebook groups, you there's so much you can do with them. I joined so many Facebook groups for authors.
Oh yeah.
Authors support authors and buy books. I joined groups that were like business, like local businesses in Texas, and then you just put your product
Mm.
and everybody wants to buy it. Like teacher groups, school groups, because that's like what my book's for. And then aside from that, like my personal groups, my Miss Texas page, like reaching all across
Oh,
Texas.
true, true.
So really, I just posted her everywhere. And then I have friends, like one of my best friends is like a news reporter. So like her posting it and talking about it, reaching out to news stations to get me on their feed
Oh,
and
yeah,
their
yeah.
like on their stories. That way I can talk to more people. And even so far as like reaching out of state, my boyfriend lives in North Carolina. So whenever I go visit him, I would even reach out to their like stations and get
Oh,
more
yeah.
like publicity in other states. And I'd reach out to coffee shops. I did a few like events in North Carolina. So constantly just throwing myself out there, and just the worst thing someone can tell me is no.
But it's rolling, right? It's been taking
Mm-hmm.
off.
It has
Did
been.
you did you have to like put your Miss Texas, the whole like pageantry thing on hold, or are you still doing that?
I am, yeah. So I try to actually balance both. So with pageantry and like the Miss Texas stuff, you need to do events, you need to stay involved in your community. So having that title, having the book, it's a perfect like kill two birds with one stone
Oh,
kind of
I
metaphor.
see. I
Like
see.
I take my sash and crown to all of my events. Every place I go to gives me a table. And my setup is always like this possum, it's my books, and then it's my crown and sash. And the
Mm.
very end of the book, which is not even a spoiler, but at the very end of the book, she like signs up for a pageant. And I wrote that before I had my title. Like it was already in the writing and the script of the book. And then the title came like a month later. So I always touch on like the reason that she signed up for a pageant is because pageants take a lot of self love, discipline, like really being brave to go on stage and show people who you are. And Polly has enough self love to now do that. And not only that, but I'm also the current Miss Texas, and I kind of talk about that a little bit. So every book event I do kind of doubles as a Miss Texas event,
That's true. Yeah,
which
because
helps me
because
stay
you would be
involved.
doing those things anyway. Like you'd be
Hmm.
doing like community outreach anyway.
Yeah,
Like,
and it helps also market them because people like the kids will ask me like, "Tell me more about your pageants, or how many have you won, or what system is this?" And
mm-hmm.
it lets me talk about that too.
So it's like when you go, it's like Miss Texas International is presenting her book. Like,
Yes. So whenever
yeah,
we send flyers and pre-order flyers home, it does say like Tessie Ledesma, Miss Texas US International, my picture, like my crown and sash and me, and then it has like the book.
that's
So it
cool,
always
man.
doubles as both.
Yeah, that's actually an awesome story, and I love how she did that at the end too.
Yes.
I personally haven't gotten to read it. Is this gonna be like how can we find your book? Like, is it online sales? Is that what you mentioned?
Yes. Yeah. So really cool is that the book has definitely taken off. And it
Yeah,
also happens from word of mouth. The more events I do, like now doing this, like just everything I've been doing, more people have been finding out. Um, and we started off with 800. The warehouse in our contract is guaranteed to tell me when they're down to 100. They notified me they were down to 100 in December. So
in December.
in December. So that the book, we got the 800 prints in July, and by December we were down to 100.
Wow.
So really fast. And that doesn't include the ones I have, because I go to the warehouse, it's in San Antonio, and I pick up like boxes. So I think I picked up like 200 copies or 300 copies, and I had them all in my car. And
And that's besides those.
that's beside the 100. So they
Wow.
said they were down to 100, and I counted my inventory in the back of my trunk, and I think I had like 100 also. So
Mm-hmm.
we're down to like literally 200 left in stock.
That's awesome.
So
How does that feel? Like,
it when they called me and told me that, I was like, really already?
that's
Like,
your book.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was like, really? Like, are you sure? They're like, yes, you're like, we're looking at it right now. You only have 100 left in stock. And they're like, this is probably like one of the better selling children's books that we've had. And we're just letting you
Wow.
know because we think it might sell out soon and we need time for reprinting. Like, how many do you want to
Mm.
reprint? Do you want to go with more copies this time? Obviously, the more copies you do, the cheaper the book is.
Yeah.
So instead of like $6, it'll be 5, or instead of 5, it'll be 4, depending on how many you get.
Yeah. The more units or whatever. Yeah.
So I told them, let's go ahead and do 1,000 this time, and please let me know when we're down to 200 instead of 100. Um, so I
Wow.
ordered 1,000 more like late December, and now like literally we just sold out like 2 days ago. Like they sent me an email saying like, hey, we literally have zero. I don't even know how many you have in stock, but we have zero. And it's funny because I was getting ready to send them an email at the same time, like, hey, can I pick up like 20 more from you guys?
And there was.
And they don't have any. And I sold like my last one like 2 days ago. So this copy is like, this is the one I read at every school. Mainly because when I wrote a dedication, it was the first dedication I ever wrote and I messed it up.
Oh, I
Like
was wondering if that was like
so this one
handwritten.
actually has a dedication, but it was the first book I ever dedicated. Like the first copy someone bought for me that wanted dedication. I messed up like their name or something.
Well, that means it's gonna be like the most valuable. Like,
Yeah, so this is like this is like the most valuable one to me. So it's already like all rough around the edges. But this is one I read everywhere, but we have no more. So but guys, like keep looking out because we did order 1,000, so those should be getting in mid-March.
and where do we like? Is there any stores that are gonna hold them, or is it all over the
Right,
internet?
yeah. So in-person stores will be Barnes and Nobles. I'm already coordinating with Barnes and Nobles. Right now we have a tentative date of April. I don't want to butcher this. I want to say it is April 27th.
Okay.
It's a Saturday at Barnes and Nobles in McAllen. We're gonna have a grand, like I wouldn't say grand opening, but like almost like an event to kick off, like keeping my book in store. So they're gonna have
At Barnes
copies.
and Nobles.
In
So
McAllen,
you're gonna be
Texas.
there like with a
Yes, so I'll
stand?
be there
Cool.
that day. I think they said events run from 2 to 4,
Cool.
2 to 4 p.m. So you can like meet me, come see me. We'll have books to sell there, and then Barnes and Nobles will also have some. Aside from that, right now we are sold out, but I think my book is on Amazon, Walmart, Target, all of it online. Even Barnes and Noble's online, and right now it gives you an opportunity to pre-order.
Oh, cool.
So you can already pre-order one
From
of
Barnes
the
and
1,000.
Oh, cool.
And then aside from that, my favorite way that I always try pushing is directly through me, whether you find me on social media, even if you just look up my name. I think I'm the only Tessie Ledesma out there
Okay.
that pops up. So
It's easy.
yeah, it's really easy to find me. You'll spot me really quickly. But if you look me up and just message me or add me as a friend anywhere on any social media platform, I prefer that route just because it allows me to actually dedicate it to whoever you want it to.
Oh, nice.
If somebody orders through Barnes and Nobles, I've received messages like, "Hey, it's not dedicated." I'm like, "Well, yeah, they're not going to send it to me first. I'm going to send it to you." Like
It's through the store.
it's through the store. So if you really want it dedicated, and even like I always include little exclusive bookmarks that you can't really get anywhere else.
Really?
And I even have like a possum stamp of like their feet.
Oh my gosh.
So I'll sign it like Tessie and Polly, and I'll put like a possum stamp of the feet, like as if she signed it.
She signed it with her patas.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So it's more personal. That's the way I kind of encourage for people to order if they want it personalized.
So this kind of begs the question: are there any more books in Miss Tessie's future?
Definitely. I think I didn't even know that was going to be the most popular question. My very first book reading, I got asked that the first question.
Oh yeah, like right away.
And I was like, guys, can we enjoy this one first? It's like I just got it.
This is still this tour.
But yes,
It's a poly era
everybody
tour.
wants one. Yes, and I always ask. So her best friend in the book is a javelina, which I didn't realize a lot of kids don't know what that is and how even to pronounce it. But I'm not going to change it. I chose a javelina because I went to school at A&M Kingsville, and that's their mascot.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
also, that's also another animal that can get
It's a
shed
thing
more
here.
light on.
Yeah, but I mean
think.
they're here.
And they're
like,
here too.
Yeah.
And I feel like possums and javelinas are in that same area of like no one likes
Oh
them.
man, that's true. And you're gonna see them on the side of the road.
And you'll
too.
see them on the side of the roads, and you'll see them like all together, like maybe not really together, but like in similar areas, like
Yeah.
fields or like the monte, you know?
Yeah, that's where you're gonna find them. Yeah.
So that's her best friend in the book, and his name is Hobby the Javelina, and it's because I went to school at A&M Kingsville, so that's my personal tie to my roots. So I always ask kids, like, would you rather want like, more of a masculine feel to the book? Because Polly does have like more of the girly colors, butterflies, like self-love affirmations. Like, do you want more of like a boyish kind of color and look to the book and have Hobby the Javelina story? Or do you want more of Polly? Or do you want like a male possum, like Pablo the Possum or something?
Pablo.
And they're like, we want more of Polly, tell more of her story. So I kind of take input from each school I go to.
Okay.
I'll probably start writing again, like in...
Oh, like a Poly Part 2 type deal?
Yeah,
Oh,
like I'll probably
cool.
start writing again like in 6 months. And this one won't be so much as like forced because there's so many different ways like the end of the book can go.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah.
That's the beauty of it, right? Like there's so many directions you can take. Okay, so there may be a sequel then.
Yes,
is what
I
we're
can't
hearing.
guarantee when because obviously that process is very tedious and I want to keep enjoying this first one. But
Yeah, for sure.
eventually, like I do want to get there.
But you do feel like this like writing will be part of your life going forward.
Definitely. I really think so. I think the beauty of it for me is I've always wanted to leave a legacy and inspiration behind. I tell all the kids, like, we're put here for a reason. Like, go inspire somebody today. Go be great today. Go be kind to somebody. Someone could use it. And if I could inspire at least one person in my lifetime, like, I think I've served my purpose. I think we all have that in us. So this book is my way of like, if even whenever I pass, like this can still be on shelves.
Mm-hmm.
It can still inspire people. Like it's something I can leave behind forever. So I definitely want to keep doing that.
So I got one more question for you before we let you
Yes.
go. What is one thing that Polly the Possum has taught you?
She has taught me, oh my gosh, so much. I guess like the power of what it means to love yourself and see the beauty of growth. And I say that because everyone struggles with self love at some point. And whether it's when you're young and it comes back again when you're in your 20s and it comes back again when you're in your 30s, it happens to everybody. So I think the more I read the story, it'll hit me at different times. Like sometimes I even needed the reminder. And I think also the beauty of growth because I see so many students walk into the room a certain demeanor and leave a whole different kid. And it's just from like talking to me. And I tell
Hmm.
them at each time, like every school I go to, like keep your questions, think of something, please. I love talking to all of you. I want to hear from every single person. And I make that personal connection. And if I see a kid who really wanted a book, but their parents didn't pre order, I give them like a bookmark that's signed.
Oh,
Like
that's
I want to
nice.
help because I remember when
Yeah.
I was little, I always look forward to seeing the author. Like you don't realize it, but you're like a little celebrity in their eyes. And that's something that I never realized going into writing this book. I never expected going into writing this book. I didn't know the power that it could eventually be for not only growth for the kids, but growth for me to realize all these different aspects of the power that we have as human beings to inspire others.
Yeah, that's so true. That's that whole like give and take. Like it's a parallel, it's a mutual interaction, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a there's this like wisdom, like there's more happiness in giving than there is in receiving, and you feel that, right? Because you're giving, they like to them, you're giving to them, but they're giving to you too,
They're
and like you
giving
feel
so
it.
much to
Sometimes you
me.
feel more what you get. You think you're doing something for someone else, and then you realize that you're refreshed by them,
Yeah, that they
right?
actually gave more to me and they give me so much gratitude. I receive so many random messages from parents like, "Oh, so and so chose your book as their school project." And I'm
Oh
like, "What?"
yeah,
Like I
that's
never thought
cool.
my book would be a school project
So
or
you are a celebrity to these kids,
yeah, and
man.
one time I even got a text like, "I didn't even know you can Google you. If you Google you, it says author and it has like all of your information." I'm like, "What?"
Oh
Just like
wow.
so many different things that like I didn't realize could happen because
Mm-hmm.
of the love and support that people have given me, but really like they give me so much more than I could ever give them, if that makes sense.
Mm.
And I've even received messages. So sometimes I'll do like on by request, I'll take like pageant clients. And one of the little clients, she was like, "Wait, mom, you got me a pageant coach?" And she's like, "Yeah, I did. Her name is Tessie." And she's like, "Wait, the author? She went to my school. I'm so nervous.
Oh
I can't be
wow.
with her. Like, I'm scared." Like,
Yeah.
and then she drew me like all these little cute things. So
It's cute,
like
man.
it's something that you don't realize, but think about when you were younger and an author came. Like you really think about that for a long time. Like so and
Yeah.
so came to my score. So and so gave me this. Like you really
Mm.
think about that for a long time.
Or you'll find it like 5 years later in your backpack, like, oh, I remember when Miss
Mm-hmm.
Tessie came. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
so true. Well, guys, one thing that I think that we can take away from this is that I feel like you kind of taught us that if you really want to do something, like just do it, right? Like you literally didn't even have like you had to Google like how do I write a book, that's as much from scratch as you can get,
Mm-hmm.
right? But look, I mean, there's a book in front of you now. We're talking about your work as an author, right? And that's just something you always wanted to do, and like you didn't let potential barriers stop you, or like, oh,
Oh yeah.
there's nobody to teach me, or like, oh, I've never done it, my family doesn't know how to write a book, like no, you were gonna do it anyway. So like I love that story. And then the story behind the story is actually very like we can as adults, like you said, like it's obviously geared towards kids, but sometimes the simpler stories are like better for us anyway, because it's just so black and white. Like as an adult you read it, like it just makes sense, like, oh, okay, like like self-love, or like be happy, who you are is your superpower. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's awesome. So thanks for that. We appreciate that, because like you're every time you go to a school, like you're they're gonna keep that with them forever. Like whether
Right.
they might not even realize it for 10 years or 5 years, but then one day they're gonna
Exactly.
look back and be like, oh yeah, yeah, I remember the watches. Yeah, yeah, I gotta like be happy with myself, right?
Yeah.
So
I think
thank you for that.
the biggest message is if you have an idea, the idea was put in your heart and for you for a reason, and the only barrier is yourself. Like I did not have the money to make this book back then, but I picked up every single shift I could. Like if there really is a dream in your heart, you can make it happen. And the only barrier between you and the dream is yourself.
There we go. Thank you for that. We appreciate
Yeah, of
that.
course.
So thanks for being with us. Honestly, it was really fun. It was. I actually just tell you guys this. I had to reschedule on her, so I'm sorry about that.
No,
We
it'll be fine.
I came we had stuff going on here, but thank you so much for like being patient with us because we really wanted to hear about your book, and I'm gonna go look for it at Barnes and Nobles. I will probably bother you there at the Barnes and Nobles in McAllen, like, oh, we're gonna go see Miss Texas
Yes.
International. So thanks for being here. We really appreciate it. Okay,
Thank
so
you
thanks
guys.
for
Thank you
bringing
so
Polly
much for
too.
having me.
So check out the book, guys. It's cool. It's and then you're gonna learn too that like they eat a lot of ticks. So, but anyway, read the book. Read the book. So thanks for being here, Tessie.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you. Thank you all for having me.
Later, guys. Have a good day.